Hello guys, this is Penashville, and wanted to get back in the groove of commentating, get used to talking to myself for 10 minutes, and since Modern Warfare 3 is about to come out, and I'll be talking about that. But today I don't want to talk about Modern Warfare 3. I figured this was my last chance to talk about something unrelated to Call of Duty, and so why not take it? And what I wanted to talk about was sports, because I love sports, and really what I want to talk about were my top sports moments, just things that stand out, not necessarily the greatest plays or whatever. And these are all college sports. For some reason, I love college. And like NBA, I really don't care about. NFL is really fun to watch. I like that, but I don't actually end up watching a lot of the games. And what's the other league? I like soccer. Okay, NFL, NBA. Oh, baseball. Baseball. The Royals suck. So. Yeah, so these are all college sports, and it's not so much like great. Well, a couple of them are great moments, and then a couple of are moments that just stick in my memory as me hating them and them being just total BS. But so the first one is the 2007 Fiesta Bowl, and that's Boise State versus Oklahoma. Just a great game to watch. So glad I got to see that live or on live television. But like the build-up to this game was that, okay, so Boise State is kind of a, who is this school? They were undefeated, but they came from a very small conference, the WAC, and, hadn't really played any challenging teams. Whereas Oklahoma was from the Big 12 power conference, although I sometimes question that. I'm a fan of the Big 12, but it just seems like we're not as good as we think we are, or something. Anyway, so Oklahoma, they're a powerhouse from the Big 12, and I think some people thought they should have gone to the title game. And by the way, was this the title game? Same year as the title game where Ohio State won, and the guy injured his foot celebrating the touch in the end zone? I don't know. I remember something about that, but it could be a different year. So, But Boise State really came in playing, and I think they jumped out to a quick lead with some a turnover for a touchdown or something. And so they were on top for a while, but then kind of collapsed near the end of the game, and Oklahoma took the lead. And then Boise State came up with a clutch trick play to force overtime. And then another clutch trick play to force double overtime. And then a clutch trick play to go for 2 in that overtime to finish overtime. And just 3 plays that just unbelievable. I hadn't seen anything like it. There was a play where a wide receiver caught the ball and then lateraled to another wide receiver who was running the opposite direction. And that was incredibly successful. Defense didn't expect it at all. Then the other one was, they put their running back in at quarterback, which they do sometimes on plays where they just want to run it and they're not even going to pretend to pass it. But instead they pretended to run it, and the halfback passed, and it was a great throw and scored the touchdown on it. And then the other one was this crazy fake, and instead of a pump fake like we normally do, which no one follows for, it seems, he did the full throwing motion but had the ball in his left hand and just stuck that behind his back, handed off. I'll link that video in the description. It's worth checking out. It's just those 3 plays, really, and then a little description of them. But yeah, definitely worth watching. And having watched it in the whole game, it was crazy. And I'd actually been trying to root for Oklahoma just because they were a Big 12 school. And but by the end, I was Boise State for sure. And then the next one, I put this in chronological order, by the way. The 2008 Final Four. That's Kansas versus North Carolina, and just the first half of this. Well, not really the first half, but I think at halftime they brought it pretty close. But in the first half, for a while, we were just destroying North Carolina. And I'm not trying to knock North Carolina here. Fantastic team. This is actually the team that won the national championship the next year, and obviously a very good team because they came back to within 4. But with 13 minutes left in the game, or in the first quarter, half, it was 17-10 KU. And with 5 minutes left in the half, it was 40-12. That's a 23-2 run. They held the number one seed overall, to 2 points over 8 minutes of basketball. It was just crazy. The announcer actually called the game 13 minutes into it. The final score was 84-66, and like I said, North Carolina pulled it within 4 at one point. But it was that 8 minutes of play. It's just probably the best 8 minutes of basketball I've ever seen. And then, of course, I have to mention the championship versus Memphis. Even though it doesn't stand out to me as much as something I'd like to see again, that the North Carolina game, that 8-minute stretch, I'm just like, I'll watch that over and over again. The Memphis game, it's like, yeah, we hit a great shot at the end of the game to force overtime, and we won in overtime. And also, Memphis choked, which was nice to see for a Kansas fan, because usually it's us doing the choking. But then they failed their free throws, and so that's not like it was amazing to watch at the time, just like so tense and all. But it's awesome to watch that 13 minutes of basketball or 8 minutes of basketball of the KU North Carolina game. And then on the other end of the spectrum is a game that pissed me off, and that is the 2010 Pinstripe Bowl, which was K-State versus Syracuse. And I'm a KU fan. I'm not a K-State fan, but because I'm from that state and they were in a bowl game of football, I was watching and, of course, rooting for K-State. But I didn't really care that much if they won. What really bothered me is just the kind of call that I'm just like, why? Because with 1 minute 13 left in the game, K-State was down 8, and they scored a touchdown. So they needed a 2-point conversion. They needed to play some defense after that, and they could have forced overtime. And I love overtime. Overtime is so fun to watch, and it's just like a great game. But instead, the referee calls an excessive celebration because the player had saluted after scoring that touchdown, and so that makes the 2-point conversion a lot more difficult. They didn't make it, and they didn't make the onside kick, and they lost the game. He completely changed the course of that game. Like, it seems very likely that they could have scored a touchdown or a 2-point conversion if they'd been the usual, 3 yards away? Not necessarily. I'm not saying it's a gimme. I just would have liked to have seen them get the opportunity. I mean, just the name excessive celebration implies that some celebration is allowed, like some level of celebration is acceptable. And they were talking about the official wording of the rule is anything that draws attention to one specific player. I mean, I think that's dumb in and of itself. You know, let them have their moment. It's exciting. I mean, especially a play like this. This is late the last drive of the game, and he scored the touchdown that allows them to make a tie. And so, yeah, let that kid accelerate. It's a bowl game. It's like all that stuff stacked onto itself. Like, I think he should have been able to get away with a lot more. And if you watch bowl games now, or even if you'd watch bowl games on that day, people were similar or more celebrations. It's not something that anyone ever calls. No one cares. But yeah, like, if they did want to be enforcing the successive celebration rule, how they should have handled it would be to start calling them early in the game. You know, a player gets a sack and he does like the stomps his feet or whatever. You know, they do their slap their chest, and if they're doing that, you know, that's one thing. And they could have called that excessive celebration. That's a 15-yard penalty, you know, or even more so, like after a touchdown, where they weren't going for 2 and it's early in the game. You know, that's not nearly as an important time to call it. But it would set the precedent. And then at this point in the game, when he scores this touchdown, he possibly wouldn't have done the salute, and because he's like, oh, they're calling these things really loose today, and so if he'd done that, then it would be his bad. But here it's just like unprecedented penalty call ruins the game, and it really did ruin the game. Like, I don't care if K-State wins, but I wanted to see the game work out. I don't know, but just really dumb. And then the other thing was that SportsCenter barely mentioned it. I was expecting to see like mass rage about it, and there really wasn't. I was looking on YouTube and I saw Regis Philbin say like the most about it. He said that K-State got screwed, and that's about all that had happened. And then a similar thing happened in the 2011 NCAA basketball tournament, which was with Arizona versus Texas. Texas is also a school full of douchebags, but probably similar to KU. And I'm not really hating on Texas, but basically the referee killed the game here by it was a 5-second call on the inbounds play, and like you can see that the player is signaling timeout before the referee has extended his arm to signal the final 5th second. But like instead of calling, it's like he got confused or something. Even just instead of calling giving them a timeout, letting them try again, he called a 5-second call, a turnover, and then basically Texas choked. I'm not gonna lie. They fouled the guy on his 2-point shot. He made the bucket and won. Gave Arizona the lead. And then Texas ran down for one more play, and it wasn't a very good one. And Texas fans, I'm sure, will complain that it was a pretty weak foul call on the Arizona shot, and there was similar contact on the Texas shot. But you know, that's kind of the way the game goes on those kind of things. It was the inbounds play there that bothered me. And then one more story, and I could tell a really long story here, but I'm just going to cut it down to the details. Is that my younger brother, he's 2 years younger than me, this year was his senior year of high school, and his first 3 years of high school, he was homeschooled. And prior to that, he has no football experience, pretty much whatsoever. I think it's 1 year of flag football when he was like 8. So this year, though, he decided he was going to join the football team. He also decided to join the basketball team, or try out. That hasn't happened yet, though, because the season hasn't started. But, yeah, so senior night, he didn't get to play the whole season. He went to training camp and went to practice every day, but the whole season didn't get to play because, admittedly, he's not very good, and he knows it. And yeah, he doesn't have the fundamentals at all because he has no prior training. But so this game, they say it's senior night, so they said, yeah, we'll try and put you in, try and get a pass to you, and yeah. So, but instead, I see they put him in on the kickoff. He's one of the guys tackling, which I think is funny because his lack of fundamentals makes him a really poor tackler. But he didn't mess up or anything on that play. He just got blocked and picked up on a block, and that's about all. But it was exciting for me anyway because, you know, oh my gosh, he got to play in an actual game. But later in the game, they put him in at cornerback, and again surprising me because lack of fundamentals means poor tackling. The first two plays that he's in, nothing really happens. It doesn't go anywhere near him. It was like a handoff and a play to the other side of the field. But the third play, the quarterback takes the snap, fakes a handoff, steps back, throws up the pass, and it's either a horrible miscommunication or just a terrible throw because it's headed towards 3 defenders, and the first and foremost being my brother. He grabs the catch, takes off running, and it became pretty apparent that, I mean, at this point I'm freaking out in the stands. It was so good to watch. It's apparent he's going to get tackled, but I mean, I don't care. He got an interception. But wait, he's just like a stop, goes around the tackler, cuts past a couple more, and runs in the end zone. Got a 32-yard return, pick 6, and the team crowded around him and like just so happy. And after the game, he was so happy. And actually, a coach picked him up and like put him on his shoulders, carried him down the sideline. I'm surprised they didn't get an excessive celebration penalty, but the crowd didn't even know who he was because this is his first year at North and certain unnamed high school. But I was like, oh, that's my brother. He's never played any football before this year. So anyone who was close by was pretty impressed by that. I think it's an impressive story. I know that this video ran on quite a bit longer than it should have, but I wanted to get out that story in addition to the other stories, and hopefully I did a good job. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you when Modern Warfare 3 comes out. Actually, I'm trying to make a montage. We'll see how that goes. I'm trying to make it out of all my old Black Ops footage, which isn't very impressive because I think Black Ops isn't very good for montages anyway, but I don't go for montage clips, and I'm also not a good editor or anything. So, 15-minute video. Sorry about that, guys, and I will see you when Modern Warfare 3 comes out.